The rain was pouring hard, the kind that blurs the world into silver streaks. Maya clutched her worn-out jacket tighter around her shoulders as she stepped off the bus. Her shoes were soaked, her stomach empty, and her wallet held nothing but 8 crumpled dollars, the last of what she had left for the week. She had moved to this small town in Alabama 2 months ago, chasing the promise of a new beginning. But new beginnings, she had learned, came with long hours, low pay, and higher bills. Her job at the diner barely covered rent. Some nights she'd skip dinner just to make sure she had enough bus fare for work the next day. As she hurried toward the corner store, she noticed the low rumble of engines behind her, a sound that made most people turn their heads. A group of bikers rolled up, leather jackets glistening with rain, chrome shining under the flickering streetlight. Their jackets bore a name in bold red letters: Hell's Angels. Maya froze for a moment. She'd heard stories, and wild ones, about biker gangs. Some said they were dangerous, others said they had their own code of loyalty and justice. Still, she kept her distance, clutching her bag and stepping aside as they parked near the store. As she walked past, she heard a gruff voice curse. "Damn it, the bike won't start." One of the men, tall, bearded, tattoos crawling up his neck, was kicking at his motorcycle, frustration written all over his face. Another biker, younger and blonde, was trying to help but failing miserably. Maya hesitated. Her mama had always taught her one thing: never walk past someone who needs help, even if you're struggling yourself. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. Excuse me," she said softly, her voice trembling against the sound of the rain. "Looks like your engine's flooded. You might want to give it a minute before trying again." The tall biker turned to look at her, surprised. "You know bikes?" "A little," Maya smiled faintly. "My dad used to fix them, before he passed." Something softened in his eyes. He stepped aside and nodded. "All right, mechanic girl. You lead the way." Maya crouched down, her hands trembling from the cold as she twisted the fuel valve, checked the choke, and gave the ignition one clean try. The bike sputtered, coughed, then roared back to life. The other bikers whooped and clapped. "Well, I'll be damned." One of them laughed. "She just saved you a tow, Bear." The tall man, Bear, grinned. "Guess I owe you a drink." Maya shook her head, backing away. "No need, just glad it worked." She turned to leave, but Bear stopped her. "Hey, you got somewhere to be?" "I work the late shift at Mel's Diner," she said. "Gotta grab some food before my shift." He nodded, his tone softening. "Tough night?" Maya smiled tiredly. "Just one of many." She went inside the store, grabbed a small loaf of bread and a cup of instant noodles. As she approached the counter, she heard the cashier say, "That'll be $8.12. Her stomach sank. She only had $8. She sighed, pulling one item away. But before she could pay, a deep voice behind her said, "Keep it." She turned. It was Bear, holding out a $10 bill. She shook her head. "No, I can't. Consider it a thank you," he said with a small smile. Maya hesitated, then slowly pushed his hand back and placed her last $8 on the counter. "No, thank you. You just needed help." "I don't do kindness for payment." Bear stared at her, almost stunned. Most people he met avoided his kind. No one had ever turned down his money. He nodded slowly. "You're something else." "Kid," she smiled faintly, took her small bag, and disappeared into the rain. But what Maya didn't know was that this small act of kindness, giving away her last few dollars and showing a stranger respect, was about to come back to her in a way she could never have imagined. Because the next morning, when she stepped out of her apartment, she'd find over 100 Hell's Angels bikers waiting outside her building, with a life-changing surprise. The next morning began like any other for Maya: tired eyes, empty fridge, and the same familiar ache of survival. Her alarm buzzed at 6 a.m., and she dragged herself out of bed, brushing her hair into a bun and tying her apron for another long day at Mel's Diner. The air outside was crisp, still wet from last night's rain. She zipped up her jacket, clutching her bag close as she stepped onto the porch of her small apartment building. Then she froze. The street outside wasn't empty like usual. Instead, A wall of roaring engines lined the block, motorcycles gleaming under the morning sun, chrome polished to perfection. One by one, helmets turned in her direction. There must have been at least 100 of them, men and women, all wearing the same jacket. The unmistakable Hell's Angels insignia stretched across their backs. Maya's heart skipped. "What in the world?" she whispered under her breath. Her elderly neighbor, Miss Geraldine, peeked out from behind her curtain across the hall. "Girl, what you doing out there with them bikers?" I don't know," Maya stammered, stepping cautiously down the stairs. Then, through the sea of engines and leather, she spotted a familiar face, Bear. He stood at the front, arms crossed, a calm smile spreading under his beard. As the engines shut off one by one, the sudden silence was replaced by the sound of boots crunching on wet pavement. "Maya Carter?" he called out. She nodded nervously. "Yeah?" He grinned. "You remember me?" "Of course. From the store last night." He nodded. "Good, because you didn't just fix my bike. You fixed something in me." Maya frowned. "I don't understand." Bear took a few steps forward, the others parting to make way. "See, when you helped me last night, you didn't know who I was. You didn't care about the jacket or the stories people tell. You just saw a man who needed help." Maya shrugged slightly. "It's what anyone would have done." He shook his head. "No, sweetheart. Not everyone would have spent their last $8 on someone else. We asked around the store after you left. The clerk said you gave him everything you had." Her eyes widened. "You didn't have to..." He raised a hand to stop her. "I know, but we wanted to." He gestured toward the bikes, and suddenly, the group behind him moved, pushing something forward through the crowd. At first, Maya thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. It was a brand new motorcycle, jet black with silver trim, gleaming like midnight. But on its gas tank, in white cursive letters, it said, "For Maya, the real angel." She gasped. What is this?" Bear chuckled. "You said your daddy used to fix bikes, right? Thought maybe you'd want to ride one someday." Tears filled her eyes as she stepped closer. "You can't be serious." "Oh, we're serious," another biker shouted. "Bear here couldn't stop talking about you all night. Said you reminded him of someone he lost a long time ago, his little sister." Bear nodded solemnly. "She died a few years back. Kind heart, just like you. Always helping people who couldn't help themselves. When you refused my money last night, it hit me. There's still good people left in this world. And we don't forget good people." Maya pressed a hand to her mouth, trembling. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Bear said softly. "Just promise me one thing. Don't ever stop being that kind of person." He handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Just something to make life a little easier," he said with a wink. When she opened it, her knees nearly gave out. Inside was a check for $25,000, signed and donated by the entire biker chapter. "Maya!" Miss Geraldine screamed from her window. "You better tell me you just got rich!" Everyone laughed. Maya wiped her tears, looking at the massive group of bikers who now cheered for her like family. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. Bear smiled. "That's exactly why you do." As the engines roared to life again, one by one, the Hell's Angels began their slow, thunderous exit. 100 bikes disappearing down the road, leaving only the echo of power and gratitude behind. Maya stood in the middle of the street, clutching the envelope against her chest, the sun breaking through the clouds. In that moment, she realized something her mother once told her. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness comes back in the loudest way. And for Maya, it came with 100 roaring engines. The next morning, Jasmine woke up to the rumble of engines outside her small apartment. At first, she thought it was construction or traffic, but as the sound grew louder, she walked to the window and froze. A line of motorcycles stretched down the entire street. Gleaming chrome, roaring engines, black leather jackets shining under the morning sun. Dozens of bikers, maybe more than 100, stood in formation, all wearing the same Hells Angels insignia. Her neighbor peeked through the curtain. "Girl, what did you do?" She whispered, eyes wide. Jasmine's heart raced. She quickly threw on a hoodie and stepped outside. The crowd went silent when she appeared. The same man she had helped, Rick, the biker from last night, stepped forward. His arm was in a cast now, but his smile was wide. "You're Jasmine, right?" he said, voice rough but warm. "Yeah," she said softly. What's going on?" Rick nodded toward the line of bikes. "These are my brothers. You gave your last $8 to a stranger yesterday. No one does that anymore. You didn't ask who I was. Didn't judge my jacket. You just helped." Tears welled in Jasmine's eyes. "It was just a burger and coffee." Rick shook his head. "Nah, it was more than that. You reminded me that people still care." Then he pointed to something parked behind the line of bikes, a brand new Harley Davidson, shining deep red with chrome trims. The license plate read Jazz 01. Jasmine gasped. "What is this?" "It's yours," Rick said. "A gift from all of us. Your family now." Her knees almost gave out. No, I can't accept that. But another biker, a huge man with tattoos and kind eyes, stepped forward. "You can and you will," he said. "Rick told us how you're working double shifts, studying, and still managed to help a stranger. We respect that more than anything." Rick handed her a small leather patch, the same one from his jacket, but with her name stitched across the top, Angel Jasmine. Everyone started clapping, cheering, revving their engines. Jasmine covered her mouth in disbelief. For a moment, all the noise, the engines, the cheering. It felt like thunder and love mixed into one. Rick said, "You ever need anything? Any of us, Whites, we got you. Always." Jasmine looked around. All those tough bikers. Men and women with scars, tattoos, rough hands. And yet their faces were full of kindness. The kind that comes from loyalty and gratitude. She smiled, tears running down her cheeks. "Thank you." "I don't even know what to say," Rick grinned. "Just ride." That evening, the neighborhood gathered as Jasmine sat on her new Harley. She revved the engine for the first time. It roared like freedom. Kids clapped, and even old Mrs. Parker next door waved from her porch. As she rode down the street, the sun setting behind her, the entire gang followed, 100 engines echoing through the city. The air was electric, full of unity and strength, for Jasmine, who had once felt invisible. This was more than a gift. It was a reminder that kindness always circles back. That night, as she parked the bike, she found a note tucked under the seat. It said, "You gave what little you had, and reminded us of what we'd lost. Angels always repay kindness." "Rick," she smiled through her tears. "Sometimes miracles didn't come with wings. They came riding on 2 wheels.